Greetings, music lovers. I'm Roger Bowie from music.net.nz, and today I'm rapping with Chris Dent, also known as Albi, the one with the wolves. And Albi and the wolves are about to embark on their summer tour. How are you, Chris?
I am absolutely great, mate. Very pleased to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
No problem. Now I've seen you, I don't know, 3 or 4 times this year. You keep popping up everywhere. I mean, are you always this busy?
I feel like this year might have been our busiest to date. I suspect. Well, we had a lot of stuff carry over. Really, I think Arts on Tour got carried over, and an Australian tour we did, which we can talk about later, got carried over as well from a couple of years ago. So I think we've always been pretty busy, and we're known for that. But this year's even more than usual. Yeah.
And you've been doing the odd solo show as well, right?
Yes, around the edges, and I also perform just as a kind of more standard entertainer as well as what we're doing, and I teach as well. So and we've been recording. This year's been nuts, absolutely nuts.
Well, I'm sure you'd rather have it no other way.
Yeah, I think so.
Tell us the story. Tell us the history of Albi and the Wolves.
Well, around 2013, I moved back to Auckland. If anyone's seen us live, you might have heard the story about Try, where I tried to break up with my girlfriend and I hitchhiked from Auckland to Wellington. And it's funny because that sort of happened about the same year that the band came together. I knew Michael Young since I was pretty young myself, as he's one of the pillars of the folk community. And him and I had been playing shows, but he was on banjo and on mandolin. And we had this guy, Matt Owens. He played banjo, and basically he was this little powerhouse of a bloke. He met me and he said, "I wanna make a band with you." And after some convincing, I said to Michael, "Well, I know you've got a bass. Do you wanna play one with us?" And he said, "Sure." And Matt knew Pascal. And that was how we all came together all the way back in 2014, I think it was.
Okay, cool. So Albi and the Wolves was a breakup song, was it?
Well, I guess kinda, yeah. I mean, some of the first, if you go back to our first EP, "I Will Not Be Broken," is about the ending of that relationship. And yeah, that album, you have Try and Still Friends. It was quite a big moment in my life, both starting of the span and the ending of that era of mine. Yeah.
And presumably you gave yourself the moniker Albi. And where did the Wolves come from?
Well, see, this is an interesting one. It's a name I picked up in high school, so it was sort of bestowed upon me. The Albi, and I just held on to it because why not? I thought it was such an interesting point of difference. The Wolves came along. That guy Matt Owens, he was a graphic designer, and he was a good visionary. And I think I can't remember whose exact idea it was, but someone just went, "Wolves are awesome," and it just kind of felt right. There's no specific reason, but it feels awesome, and still does to this day. Pascal likes to say that I'm Albi and they're the wolves that try to tear me down, but they're just talking nonsense. It's just a cool name.
It is a cool name. It just flows off the tongue, and again, it's got its own mystique. So well done. Now, when did you first know you were going to be a musician and a singer songwriter? In fact,
Well, my folks tell me that when I was a little kid, I was singing songs, just walking around 3, 4, 5 years old, and I'd make them up. And as I grew up, I was so into music and enjoy performing. And as a teenager, I got into musical theater and had a lovely singing teacher, Maura Flower, who helped me with singing competitions. And my folks took me to Auckland Folk Festival and to the Devonport Folk Club. But it wasn't until some mates approached me in high school. They said, "Hey, do you want to start a band? You're a singer." And we entered RockQuest. And that's when I sort of had my first real stab at songwriting. And ever since then, I never really lit up. But it kind of wasn't until, yeah, when this band started, when that relationship finished and I moved back to Auckland, a gear switched in my brain where I thought I really want to take this seriously. I tried to study communications. I wanted to get into radio. I'd worked a full-time job. I'd done some acting. I'd done a lot of hitchhiking, played a lot of gigs, but I hadn't sort of thought, let's actually have a crack at being a muso. 8 years later, I now make a full-time living from music, and have the band. So I guess then 2014 was the year I went, let's actually do this. Yeah.
And now you're a well-known personality around the town and around the country, and yeah, congratulations. Now down to business. Tell us about the tour. I know you're going to end up at the Auckland Folk Festival, and I'm really looking forward to that. It's going to be a bloody great show this year. But where else are you going? When do you start? Tell us about the tour.
Okay, so this is an interesting tour. It's sort of fallen together. It's a bit it's a combination of festivals. We've got the absolute pleasure of playing and some shows that we're kind of picking up that fell off the end of the Arts on Tour. I don't know if you know this, but the last 2 gigs in Nelson and Onikaka were cut off because one of us got COVID and we had to cut the tour short. So with that in mind, we are playing Waihi, then we're heading down to Selective Sounds Festival, and then back up to Hamilton. After that, we're playing in Hastings, and then there's a really neat private gig that we host. There's this family there called the Lizettes. Shout out to you guys. And they host us most years every summer. And so it's kind of an annual mini Albi and the Bulls festival where we'll play at their place on the Saturday and play at Hastings Friday night before. Looking for Alaska now, join us too. It's one of my favorite times of the year.
Oh,
And
cool.
then we're flying down. We're playing Nelson, we're playing Onikaka, and we're playing Mapua at a lovely brand new venue there. So the Boathouse, the Muscle, and then the Ruby Bay store, which is a new 35-seat venue venture by a very neat group of people. Then we head to Signet Folk Festival, which is in Tasmania, so a little bit more travel for us. But we literally go there, we play that, and then we come home. We're playing Waipu, Classics in the Cove, which is where my grandfather lives and not far from where I grew up. Then we're playing Whangatia. There's a wicked folk club there, which we're playing with a guy called Sneaky Bones and also Butterwood Melts. If you don't know those acts, everyone, you should check them out. Sneaky Bones.
I know the album Butterwood Melt. I know Sneaky Bones. He's coming in for the folk festival, right?
Sure is. And he's playing a few shows before, and he's playing a couple with us, which is super exciting.
Wow.
Yep, so we got Whangatia, then we head into Whangarei, then we do Auckland Folk Festival, and then we're playing River Sounds Festival, a festival all about mental health, which is just about 45 minutes south of Tauranga. And then we've got Indulge Festival and Music in Parks coming into March. And who knows what happens between now and then. Other things are popping up all the time. The country is back in full force.
You're probably going to WOMAD as well, are you?
Not this year, no.
Okay.
Bear in mind, we did play the last one they had.
Okay.
So it's like I think
that's going to be awesome. I said they've got this the Jimi Hendrix of Africa coming out and do Mokhtar.
Wow.
I don't know whether you've heard him. He's wicked. He plays the guitar. Yeah, they call him Jimi Hendrix.
Oh man, hey, I mean, I'd love to go and I may well do, but yeah, shoot. I will. I mean, Auckland Folk Festival, the lineup's looking pretty incredible. Hey, yeah, do you know the Frank Burkett band?
No, but I know of them, and I can't wait to see them.
He's such a character. I mean, he's a marvelous performer and a great singer, but just everything about him, that he gives off this sort of dark attitude, slightly grisly, but he's also so funny and devilishly witty. He's great to see. The Jellyman's daughter, we've actually met before when we were in Canada. They're an absolute hoot. Kieran Fields, knocked my head off.
I know Kieran. I know Kieran. I'm so looking forward to seeing Kieran, and well, hopefully we'll have it down at Gore later in the year as well.
Have you seen them play live?
Who's that?
Kieran.
Kieran?
Yeah.
Not with the band. I've seen her many times solo. Wine Cellar, Tuning Fork. the little art gallery in Gore. Yeah.
Oh, the Southland Gallery, eh?
And I had a book for Bowie Fest, which you guys have done, but that was one of the COVID cancels. Might get her back. Might get her back. She's hopefully touring with Matt Joe Gal next year.
Okay, I mean the live show really was something else. You know, such a huge praise stage presence and a really warm, welcoming one with like a little bit of self-deprecating humor mixed with like this.
Yeah, she's awesome.
Yeah, I believe it was. So she played with us in Melbourne.
Okay. Oh, cool. Oh, well. It's all one big family. What can the audiences expect from Albi and the Wolves this time around? Then is it how many new songs? A few new songs coming out?
Well, yeah, we've got. I think I sort of have to call it the untitled project at this stage in the process. I can't go too deep into it. But what we're running around is mostly the show that we built for Arts on Tour. Which is for the shows we aren't sharing with Looking for Alaska, that will be condensed into one set, as they'll also do a set. But outside of that, we'll do 245s. It's just kind of a weaving journey, really, where you guys can get to know us a little bit better. I think we can be that pumping, dancing party band. And if you catch us at a festival, that's most likely what you're going to get. You know, we'll get you on your feet and we'll give you that experience. But if you catch us outside of those shows, it's a whole lot more thoughtful. I think there's some sides of the band that people don't necessarily get to see when we touch on deeper topics. I mean, obviously love and whatnot, but you know, I've written a song about my brother to remember him. He passed away a couple of years ago, and you don't necessarily get to tell those stories or share them in the way of a festival as you do the wine cellar.
Right. So, what does that mean? Does that mean that Pascal isn't on his usual sort of electromagnetic propulsion system, which makes him manic and perpetually in motion? Is there a different side to Pascal as well?
Well, I think I guess so. I mean, I think it shows different sides to all of us, and he's an incredibly sensitive player. He can definitely bring the fire, but when he needs to, he just adds these delightful components. Something that I find really interesting as a guitarist and a singer alongside him is how he dances and weaves about what I'm doing without detracting from it. And that can happen in fast or slow, pretty songs. And you know what? During these more contemporary sets, I even get to tell my stories without interruption. It's amazing.
No, he's truly a force of nature. We saw a little bit of that when he got up alongside Jackie Bristow at our place last year. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Very cool. Very cool. Okay, look, philosophical question.
Mm-hmm.
Is perfection the enemy of good enough, or is good enough never good enough for Albi and the Wolves?
It's the second one.
Yeah, I hope you would say that.
Yeah, my journey in this band has been pretty. I feel like the biggest, right? Because I came in at 22. And I come into a situation where I'm dealing with seasoned musicians who really, really understand what they're doing and know a lot about music theory and have a deeper understanding of what they're doing. And I'm just this plucky young chap who's got a bunch of songs and is super enthusiastic and ready to go. So my part of what drives me to get better, like I practice whenever I can. I'm getting singing lessons and anything whenever I can, so I can be as good as I want to be for this band. And I can't really speak on behalf of the others, but like I know Pascal, he's incredibly critical. He's amazing at what he does. And Michael he always wants to put his best foot forward. So even though we're inching closer to that idea of what a perfect performance might be in terms of how we execute stuff, we've still got a long ways to go. And I don't know if we'll ever reach that finish line,
Well, I mean, to be fair, perfection is the enemy of good enough was something we always used back in the day in a commercial context around, building technology, because there was always things that people wanted. And if you gave everything to everybody that they wanted, you'd never get it done. It doesn't work the same way even in technology anymore because of because of the threats from security threats. But I was just tempted to try it out from an artist's perspective. And
Well, see, that's so. Here's the funny thing about, or the funny idea poised by that is perfection good enough? In terms of live
no,
performance,
is perfection the enemy of good enough?
yes, I see. I mean, there's and I think there's something that we all wrestle with, and that's what we do in our rehearsal space and what you get out on stage.
Yes.
And there's there've been moments that I can say where I've gone, that's gone exactly how I planned, and I feel like moments. I don't feel like I don't think there's been a whole set where everything just went exactly as I meant it to, even if I've managed to get it that way at home. And so I think perfection, the enemy of good enough. I mean, I think we're always going to keep trying, but yeah, you certainly have to just acknowledge that. Music is a strange art, right? Because it's not like you paint it once and it's there. You have to recreate that every time.
That's it. That's good. I mean, when I think about it too a bit more deeply, I'm thinking, well, take the case of the Beatles, right? They went for perfection and they couldn't play it live.
Yeah.
Right. And so, therein lies the beginning of the end for the Beatles. Maybe, I don't know. But then we saw the Beatles show on Saturday night, where the come together stuff, where all the guys come out and it's just such a great show, and it is not perfect, but we're seeing a visual show as well as an oral show.
I know.
So yeah, I don't know. I might ask that question more often.
Yeah, I mean, because there's a certain level where you aim to replicate this thing that you've made, and so often you get there almost, or you do parts of it, but you sort of just have to live with it, because if you beat yourself up for every time you don't, you'll just lose your mind. And I constantly phase in and out of being okay with what I did and absolutely not. And I
well, the other thing is, of course, the audience is not looking for perfection. It's the artist looking for perfection. And so in many ways, good enough is good enough. Oh, I didn't realize I was going to open up this can of worms. I got
no, I mean, it's a great question, and I love it. I think you should ask it more often. I'd be really interested to see, just to hear what people have to say on the topic.
Yeah. So, what new music are you listening to? What old music have you been listening to?
Oh, okay. Well, I was just popping off about Kieran Fields. Yes. Their album Water has just been nominated for a Victoria Music Award.
Oh, wow.
With good reason. I love it.
Yeah.
So I've spent quite a bit of time listening to that. I'm just whipping out my Spotify to see what I've been scrolling over. Before that, I was having a really, really good time with the Staves album, Good Woman. Do you know that one?
I know the Staves, but I don't know the album.
It's one of their newer ones. They've pulled a little bit away from, it feels more like indie folk with some of their production. Like, I feel like sometimes it's a bit more synthy, a bit more bandy. But they still have their amazing harmonies. Julia Jacqueline's latest album is absolutely awesome. Have you given that a go?
No, I've missed her, and must have been a moment a few years back when I listened to something and it just didn't gel. So you're prompting me. I'll go back and have another look at her. It's a bit like Mel Parsons. It took me a long time to get into Mel Parsons. Now I can't think of anybody much better.
Yeah, it's a slow burn. Like,
yeah.
Ha. Absolutely unintentional there. That's a great name for Mel, isn't it? Who are we talking about? Julia Jacqueline. It took me a long time too, but there's something about just the steady pace of it and the thoughtfulness of her lyrics. It's not going to be for everyone. It's not a fast record. It's not a pumping record. But I find it engaging in just the way that it's confidence and holding itself to a chill tempo and just going, this is what I want to sell. And these stories are this way. These songs are this way because often what she's singing about is quite intense. It's good.
Well, thank you, because that I always like to get a new tips, and no better tips than from the artists that I like listening to myself. Okay.
Oh, man.
Time is fine. What more would you like to say? What questions, what answers have you prepared to the questions I haven't asked?
Haha. So you asked me this, and you know what? I thought really long and hard about what I was going to do. And what I actually did was I brewed a cup of tea, and I got myself calm and receptive as possible, because I thought, you know what? I may not be able to prepare answers, but I can get myself in a chatting mood. So here I am, ready to go, mate.
Good for you. And have you got any questions for me?
Huh. Ooh, questions for you. I think I only have one, and I'm gonna keep it at one because I know we're short on time. What makes a performance engaging for you to watch as a guy who's been to so many shows?
I like to see the artists having fun.
Yeah.
If the artists aren't having fun, there's something missing.
Mm.
You know, sometimes I like to hear the exact replication of a song. Other times I want to see a cut loose moment. But mostly I like to see the artists enjoying themselves, because, and which means that we, the audience, are in some way playing our part as well. Now there's obviously an exception there, and I'm just wondering how Aldous feels about that, because you just can't tell with Aldous what she's feeling. She's acting, she's choreographing every move, and yet she's mesmerizing. So I'm not sure how generic my response is, but that's my main comment. Yeah, you guys got to have fun too.
Well, I think that there's, yeah, you know, when you look at old performances, say like some of those MTV Unplugged, and you look at like the fella from Alice in Chains, or you look at who's the guy from Nirvana? What's his name? Kurt Cobain. And you look at those performances, and they're highly engaging, but you can tell that they're not in a nice place. And there's something about that I find those kind of hard to watch because I find it really devastating. Yeah. And so what I really like about your ideology is it's just people being comfortable in who they are, and they're just giving you this art, but it's not taking away from them. And I think that's a really, really nice sentiment, and it makes it really reciprocal. And you know, each act's different. Aldous is a very special example, because she's just pure art, right? Like that would have probably, we would have got to that album Warm Chris. I have blasted that this year. I love it. But it took me a little while to get there.
Me too.
And then I just sort of that song Passion Babe. Oh, geez, it's awesome. But like for someone who can do so much with her voice, she chooses to just go where she wants it to go, and is confident in it. That's really nice. I kind of want to rattle off just a couple other names of things that I hope you've checked out. Carnivorous Plant Society, have you given them a go?
Oh yes.
Oh yeah, that's a new fascination for me. I love it.
Fish Skulls is a genius.
It's just so fun.
Yeah.
And so so crazy interesting. And yeah, that's the only other one I thought to mention. But yeah, geez.
Well, that's cool, mate. That's cool. I'm gonna. It's a wrap with Roger, and I've been talking with Chris Dent, and I'm going to wrap it up and wish Albi and the Wolves all the best for their summer tour. Check it out online. Make sure you see these guys at least once or twice. In fact, why don't you go to every show?
Hey,
show. Be a groupie.
Bring it. Come on, let's go. New Zealand's not even that big. You guys have no excuse.
Cheers, Chris. Thanks a lot, mate.
Sorry. Yeah, thank you so much, mate. Thank you.